with hazardous chemicals.
How far back do you believe Iran's nuclear weapons program has been set by these strikes? Is it months? Is it years?
Well, I think the nuclear program, the Iranian nuclear program, has been set back significantly.
The Pentagon said the sites were obliterated. The chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff called it extreme destruction and devastation. And Trump's chief negotiator says this.
Well, it goes without saying that leaking that type of information, whatever the information, whatever side it comes out on, is outrageous. It's treasonous. So it ought to be investigated, and whoever did it, whoever's responsible for it, should be held accountable. There's no doubt that it breached the canopy. There's no doubt that it was well within reach of the depth that these bunker buster bombs go to, and there's no doubt that it was obliterated. So the reporting out there that in some ways suggests that we did not achieve the objective is just completely preposterous.
Even Obama's CIA director said the American operation set the Iranian nuclear program back years.
There's no question that there has been very, very significant damage done to all of the known nuclear sites within Iran. And I suspect that this has indeed set the program back much, much more than many months. But the bomb damage assessment process does need to be complete to validate that. The chairman of the Joint Chiefs, I think, was correct when he said there was severe damage. No question about that.
All right, so you're certain it set the program back several years. It does, to your point.
I'm confident that it did.
So we're dropping 30,000-pound bombs on our enemy.
Pete, do you have something to say about that? Well, Mr. President, when you talk to the people who built the bombs, understand what those bombs can do, and deliver those bombs, they landed precisely where they were supposed to. So it's a flawless mission.
Flawless.
Right down where we knew they needed to enter. And given the 30,000 pounds of explosives and capability of those munitions, it was devastation underneath Fordo. And the amount of munitions, 6 per location, any assessment that tells you it was something otherwise is speculating with other motives. And we know that because when you actually look at the report, by the way, it was a top secret report, it was preliminary, it was low confidence. All right, so this isn't, you make assessments based on what you know.
They don't. It said it could be very devastating, very serious.
Moderate to severe, and we believe far more likely severe and obliterated.
Is there a leak investigation? Is there a leak investigation?
Of course, we're doing a leak investigation with the FBI right now because this information is for internal purposes, battle damage assessments, and CNN and others are trying to spin it to make the president look bad when this was an overwhelming success.
We want to really see something that said, take a look at what happened.
Hey. Why this beat so cold?
We will make America proud again. And you try to kill our we will make America wealthy again. And yes, together, we will make America great again.
I'd be angry if I were him. I mean, he's the president of the United States, and now he's got a part of the bureaucracy that's leaking top secret, sensitive military information. I mean, we're in the immediate aftermath of a military exercise. This document was not produced for public consumption. It was produced for top secret internal government consumption, and now it's out in the public domain. So if I were him, I'd be mad about that, number one. Look, there's more info to come. There's 17 other intelligence agencies inside the government that have to produce some kind of information. The head of the IAEA says that substantial damage and substantial setbacks have occurred in the program, and it's no doubt that the combined efforts of both Israel and the United States have done a substantial amount of damage to Iran's capabilities here. How much damage? How long have we set them back? I think we don't know exactly yet. This very early in all this. But if I were the president,
keeps saying completely obliterated.
If I were the president and my government was leaking top secret military information after what our military did, which was execute a precision military strike, I'd be pissed.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy. You know, it's always something, you know, it is always something. CNN, the fake news media, the mainstream media, the legacy media, the enemy of the people. Again, we got leakers now. I tell you, it's just, you just can't make this up, man. But we're going to get into all this. I hope everybody is having an amazing week, month, ending the month off on a good note. You know, that you're having an amazing 2025, that you and your family are blessed, well, and healthy. I love you guys, man. And if you're new here, join the family. You know, it's a lot going on. I told you we're going to try to be on top of everything that's happened. And a lot of, you know, breaking news, a lot of big things that are going on, covering the Trump administration. And again, we're praying for peace, praying for America, praying for President Trump, praying for accountability, you know. Accountability. I know some people hate to hear it, but accountability. You know, I want people to be held accountable. Walked out in handcuffs. I think it ought to be term limits and handcuffs. You know, and we're you know, common sense and right from wrong. You know, that's the biggest thing on this channel. You know, common sense. And we are rooting for the America First agenda, you know. But Miss Laura Loomer says leakers need to be jailed. CNN and get engaged in treason. And this is not the first time CNN has, you know, been accused of this, that, treason, millions of times. You know, it's nothing new from the fake news media, you know. But I want to play this too. It says leaking Trump's Iran strike intel to CNN to fuel fake news reporting is committing treason. And y'all know how they've come out and said all kind of things, and even Trump called them out as well for teaming up with the New York Times. And there's been a lot of fake headlines, fake articles, a lot of misinformation, and just complete lies, fear mongering, the same crap. You know, one of the ones said, no bombs, nothing hit, there was no damage done. What? And then they had to send the what's it call out there and get the people, and you understand why people they don't hate the fake news media enough. People are done with the media, man. They are done. People just go ahead and turn their TV off.
Underline early, but it was leaked. Somebody decided to leak this from the DIA, and it's being used in the media, and it's all over today that, Trump said it was obliterated, but it's not obliterated. It's set back months, but it's not over from Iran's nuclear program's perspective. Your reaction to that, and I assume you know what we're talking about with this leaked intel report.
Well, it goes without saying that leaking that type of information, whatever side it comes out on, is outrageous. It's treasonous. So it ought to be investigated, and whoever did it, whoever's responsible for it, should be held accountable. It could hurt lives in the future. Leaking is a completely unacceptable thing. But let me give you, because I've read all the damage assessment reports from not just our government, but from other governments. And yeah. I'm not going to get into anything that's top secret, but let me tell you for sure what happened here. There are three distinct facilities in Iran that we were concerned with. Isfahan, which is a conversion facility. You cannot weaponize unless you have what's called the conversion process at the beginning of enrichment, and then a conversion process to metallicize the material at the end of enrichment. That conversion facility, which as far as we know is the only facility in Iran that can do this, was completely destroyed at Isfahan. It's above ground. It was hit with a 30,000-pound bunker buster, and it could not survive that hit. So they have no conversion opportunity, and that means they cannot weaponize, even if they've enriched to 90%. Then there are two other nuclear reactors in Natanz, one above ground and one below ground. The below ground one we know we eviscerated, and the above ground one, which had been hit by the Israelis and had been substantially damaged, we put another bomb on top of it just to make sure that it was eviscerated, and we know for a fact it was. Fordo is the last enrichment reactor that was operating there. And we put 12 bunker buster bombs on Fordo. There's no doubt that it breached the canopy. There's no doubt that it was well within reach of the depth that these bunker buster bombs go to. And there's no doubt that it was obliterated.
Underline early, but
you know. But the fake news comes out and says nothing was obliterated. You know, and I know y'all been reading. It's just a disgrace, man. You know. Wow, this says whoever leaked the report to CNN should get the death penalty. Undermining the President of the United States, treason. All it takes is one and it stops. We make an example out of somebody, and yeah, everybody get in line. Everybody get in line, you know. You just can't make this up. But CNN, I tell you, boy. Fake news media. But I couldn't, y'all, this is the clip I was looking for right here. Oh, Pete Hegseth, he got that hair gel slick back. All right, Pete. Yeah, they say Pete ain't drinking. Pete did not take a sip of drink. Pete is on top of his game. I see people saying, people that were making fun of Pete or saying Trump's cabinet is incompetent. People are saying this and that. Now I'm seeing them saying, I'm sorry. I think Pete Hegseth was a good choice. I was wrong. People are posting, I was wrong. I tell you, man, you know, seeing Democrats, people that didn't vote for Trump saying, I was wrong about President Trump. I think Trump was what we needed for right now. I think he was a better candidate than Kamala Harris. We even have Democrats making viral videos saying that right now. After these strikes. Y'all seen it. It's all over the internet. They're breaking all over the internet. You know.
Secretary.
Yeah. There's a reason the president calls out fake news for what it is. These pilots, these refuelers, these fighters, these air defenders, the skill and the courage it took to go into enemy territory flying 36 hours on behalf of the American people and the world to take out a nuclear program is beyond what anyone in this audience can fathom. And then the instinct of CNN, the instinct of the New York Times is to try to find a way to spin it for their own political reasons to try to hurt President Trump or our country. They don't care what the troops think.
Treason.
They don't care what the world thinks. They want to spin it to try to make him look bad based on a leak. Of course, we've all seen plenty of leakers. And what do leakers do? They have agendas. And what do? Do they share the whole information or just the part that they want to introduce? And when they introduce that preliminary report that's deemed to be a low assessment, you know what a low assessment means? Low confidence in the data in that report. And why is there low confidence? Because all of the evidence of what was just bombed by 12 30,000-pound bombs is buried under a mountain, devastated and obliterated. So if you want to make an assessment of what happened at Fordo, you better get a big shovel and go really deep, because Iran's nuclear program is obliterated. And somebody somewhere is trying to leak something to say, oh, with low confidence, we think maybe it's moderate. Those that dropped the bombs precisely in the right place know exactly what happened when that exploded. And you know who else knows? Iran. That's why they came to the table right away, because their nuclear capabilities have been set back beyond what they thought were possible because of the courage of a commander-in-chief who led our troops, despite what the fake news wants to say.
They did come to the table immediately. President Trump had that thing nice and secured in just about a couple of minutes, huh? Hey, man. You just can't make it up. You just can't, you know. But the fake news media, you know. Look, here. Let's play this. You just can't hate the fake news media enough.
This timeline of Iran being a few weeks away from a nuclear bomb is in direct contradiction to CNN's reporting. According to U.S. intelligence assessments, Iran is 3 years away from being able to produce a nuclear weapon if they wanted to. So the facts on Iran getting a nuclear weapon do not bear out the claim at the heart of what has put the world on the verge of world war. It only set back the Iranian nuclear program by months. We got to call it like it is. It's a big deal. This time.
You know, and then look, fake news. King Jake Tapper spent his opening 10 minutes tonight claiming that Trump might not have destroyed Iran's nuclear program. And then after spewing lie after lie, his first guest, a CNN analyst, comes on and destroys his whole narrative by saying that all signs point to Trump being correct. My favorite part is that Tapper's only response was to say, check this out. Just can't make it up. CNN. And let me read some of these. Let me just show you. These are what them Patriots feel about CNN. Communist News Network, Treason. Kaylin Collins, she's disgusting. She's in the press room and gets to fly. I cannot stand her. I cannot stand CNN. These networks are horrible and degenerate. Put her in jail. Put the CNN host in jail. I extremely dislike CNN, and they should be charged to the fullest and be stripped of their license. CNN, time to close shop. I'm just reading some of the comments, y'all. Charge her, arrest her. ABC did the same. They should also be charged. ABC News, we're not surprised. I haven't seen anything just yet on ABC, but I'm pretty sure it's out there. They're all the same. MSN, BNC, CBN, the whole alphabet news. It's a disgrace. Someone says the best way to deal with CNN is just to ignore them. Well, let me go back into this Jake Tapper clip.
But what about the entire nuclear program? Is it all gone? An initial intelligence assessment that said that the U.S. strikes did not destroy the core components of the country's nuclear program and likely only set it back by months. It is, of course, possible that at some point after more intelligence assessments are completed, the president's claims of total obliteration of the entire program could bear out to be true. But so much right now remains unknown. We still do not know what is underneath all the rubble at these bombed out sites. Has everything been completely destroyed? Now, CNN was first to report that one early DIA, or Defense Intelligence Agency, assessment suggested that the U.S. military strikes on Iran this weekend did not completely destroy the core components of Iran's nuclear program.
Here we go.
Joining us now, CNN political and global affairs analyst Barak Ravid. What are you hearing from your Israeli sources about the assessment of the damage 4 days after?
I have to tell you, a senior Israeli intelligence official told me today that overall, other than the fact that he's using the word obliterated, but overall, the Israeli intelligence assessment shows that the reality is much closer to where Trump says it is than to where the initial DIA report said it was. And obviously, a few days passed since that DIA report, and more information. We have more information about what exactly happened. But one of the interesting things that the Israeli intelligence learned over the last 24 hours is that in Fordow, the damages are also inside the compound, underground. There is intelligence that shows that there has been internal collapse, underground collapse inside the facility, which is something that shows us that it was badly damaged. Because if you have centrifuges in this facility and there was a penetration of a bomb inside and there was collapse inside, then those centrifuges are gone.
CNN, treason. Somebody ought to be arrested. Yeah, somebody ought to be put in handcuffs. Yeah, they ought to just shut the whole thing down, strip them of their license. They ought to just shut CNN down. They shut down the whole headquarters building, turn it into something that benefits the people. Lease the building out or something. They ought to just shut it all down. You just can't make this up, and you can't hate the fake news media enough. You cannot hate the fake news media enough, man. But let me know what y'all think of this. We got a lot more things to get into. And we're going to be getting into this week. So if you're new here, join the family. Make sure you have your post notifications on so you don't miss a video. Hit that like button. Show your boy some love. And we're going to keep winning. You know what I'm saying? And we are rooting for President Trump, for America. We're praying for peace. You know, we're rooting for the America First agenda, for common sense, you know. And there will never, ever be a president like President Trump, man. Prayers for Trump. And we're seeing what he's been stirred up. And what it is now, you know. And again, like I told y'all, big decisions are going to have to be made. President Trump knows his legacy is on the line, and he wants to go out as the greatest president of all time, you know. And as you can see, great things are happening in this country. You know, oil's down, stocks are up. A lot of things are going great. Things are coming down. And then again, Democrats, the media, fake news media, silent. When anything goes good, silent. All they do is try to spin everything and say that he's the big bad orange man. He's the worst. You know, everything is burning and crashing. America is becoming one of the worst countries. You know, I tell you, it has been a crazy couple of weeks, man. Seeing people protest, waving flags and burning the American flag. I mean, it's just been ridiculous. You know, after majority of America voted for mass deportations. You know, after seeing the biggest scandal in American history, vegetable in chief, auto pen gate, you know, they done plugged up a machine in the wall. He don't know what was signed. He don't know what was going on. We didn't know who was running the country. You know, Trump calls it the Democrats' experiment. I tell you, you just can't make it up, man. But what a disgrace from CNN, the New York Times, all of them. You know, let me see if they have any post on it, because I know Trump had called him out and he had dropped a big one on him. You know. Here it is right here. We caught the failing New York Times working with fake news CNN, cheating again. They tried to demean the great work of our B-2 pilots did. And they were wrong in doing so. These reporters are so bad and sick people. You would like to think that they would be proud of our great success we had, instead of trying to always make our country look bad. Total obliteration. Just can't make it up, man. You just can't. You know. But update, Pete Hegseth announces criminal investigation into whoever is feeding bad intel to CNN and New York Times that the strikes on Iran didn't really destroy the nuclear program. We are doing a leak investigation with the FBI right now. Fire and arrest. Yes.
Pete, do you have something to say about that? Well, Mr. President, when you talk to the people who built the bombs, understand what those bombs can do, and deliver those bombs, they landed precisely where they were supposed to, so it's a flawless mission.
Flawless.
Right down where we knew they needed to enter, and given the 30,000 pounds of explosives and capability of those munitions, it was devastation underneath Fordo. And the amount of munitions, 6 per location, any assessment that tells you it was something otherwise is speculating with other motives. And we know that because when you actually look at the report, by the way, it was a top secret report, it was preliminary. It was low confidence. All right, so this isn't, you make assessments based on what you know. They
and
don't.
It said it could be very devastating, very serious.
Moderate to severe, and we believe far more likely severe and obliterated.
Is there a leak investigation? Is there a leak investigation?
Of course, we're doing a leak investigation with the FBI right now because this information is for internal purposes, battle damage assessments, and CNN and others are trying to spin it to make the president look bad when this was an overwhelming success.
You can tell, man, President Trump is just sick of the BS, man. You can just see his tone, his body language, you know. But this was a great segment right here that we had today. But let me know what y'all think. I love y'all. God bless you all and your family. And I will catch y'all in the next one. Peace.